from the time I could even remember. Parents have always been youth pastors and co-pastors, things like that, and so I've always grown up in church. One day, me and my dad were driving to a gun show. We were going to go check out guns, things like that. It'd be a pretty fun time. And on the way there, he started getting massive headaches. Vision was blurry. He was starting to see spots, things like that. So we had to turn around and go home. He spent several hours that whole night just laying in bed. It was not okay. So we ended up taking him to the ER. They thought he had a brain aneurysm, and so they med-flighted him to Springfield, to Cox Hospital up there. And the first thing they told us was, he's not going to make it. Only 1 in 4 people make it with a brain aneurysm. So me, my 2 younger brothers, and my mom were pretty freaked out. I was 12 years old at the time. My younger brothers were 10 and 8. They ended up finding out that he didn't have a brain aneurysm. He had a brain tumor and a cyst coming off of that. The brain tumor was about the size of a baseball, and the cyst was like the size of a golf ball, and it was actually just literally splitting his brain in half. And they scheduled him for a brain surgery appointment, which only 3 doctors in the U.S. could perform, so that was kind of a blessing, and he was right there in Springfield at this time. My dad was the guy that we go outside, we play football and play catch, and he was always there, and now he wasn't. He basically died on that surgery table and came back a completely different person. He was there in flesh. He couldn't really walk. He got really fatigued. He couldn't be out in the sun. He was on full hormonal replacement. We took a trip to Tulsa, and we went to a zoo and an aquarium that day. He couldn't do much. About every 10 steps or so, he's had to sit down and take a breath and collect himself. We were on our way home that night, and he started puking in the car. He went into an adrenal crisis. We have to take him to the hospital immediately, or he will die. So my mom's on the phone with 911. She pulls over to the side of the road, and it's just me, her, and my 2 younger brothers. And he leans out the door because he just cannot stop regurgitating and puking all over the place. And he falls and slams his head right into the pavement. And I remember looking around the car because I felt like time stopped at that point. And to see the look on my brothers' faces and to hear my mom scream really scarred me for a long time. I opened up my door on the side of the interstate. At this point, God had completely taken over. Fight or flight kicked in, and I believe God was completely taken over. I don't really remember this part. Everyone else tells me kind of what happened. Resuscitated him somehow, put him back in the car, shut the door, and got back in, and he ended up being fine. They kept him a couple days in the hospital. We wouldn't have been able to make it without Christ, and it's crazy to see how much he is still doing in our lives, because it's not over. It's still a huge struggle every day, but it's really cool to see how God works through the storms. And when you're in the storm and you're in that hurricane, you don't know what's going on until you get to the center of it, and God uses some clarity, and he says, it's going to be okay. Brace yourself, hold on to me, because you're about to hit the other side of the storm. God works in mighty ways, and you might not understand why, or you may not fully understand him, but everything happens for a reason, and he works all things out for good of those who follow him. No matter what hurt, no matter what pain, no matter what you've been through, God has been there the whole time, whether you're with him or not. He loves you, and he is your Father, and he is our Father when my father was gone. My name is Wald, and this is me.